Wes, did you tell anybody you're gonna be on the show today?
Yeah, I announced it on my Discord, so
Oh,
we
so
should have a few show up.
there's people. That's why there's people waiting. They're excited.
We are
Yeah,
honored to have you, sir. Excited.
we are very honored, very excited, and I think we got too much stuff to talk about today. I think we better start the show.
Go ahead, kick it off.
This is PSVR Gamescast Live. We film live every single Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at 6 p.m. Eastern. My name is Brian Powell from the show, and here, right here, PSVR without Parole, and the guys to my right, the boys, making his debut appearance on PSVR Gamescast Live, Wes from Virtual Strangers, a.k.a. Lethal Weasel. How are you, sir?
I'm doing well, Brian. Hello, Brian. Hello, AJ. Hello, Game Cats. Thanks for having me.
And that guy on the right-hand side of the screen is AJ from The Underground, PSVR. Hold on. Underground.
What's up, guys? Good to see you. Happy Monday. Man, you know, Mondays usually suck, but hopefully we can help your Monday suck just a little bit less.
How's it going so far?
It's good.
I don't know, man.
It's great.
I don't know. It kind of sucks. It kind of sucks. Every time I'm like, I've got 2 hours before the next thing I have to do. I'm like, I bet I can catch like 45 minutes of sleep, and I'm just not getting caught up, man. It's just not happening. I'm not a huge fan of all this stuff, but I think we probably give a shout out to Mash Daddy Cool VR with $5 tip in the chat. It says Virtual Strangers representing. Is this
Thanks,
somebody
Eric.
you know? Is this somebody you know?
That's right, Brian. You gotta plug Wes from Virtual Strangers. Everyone go check out his channel, Virtual Strangers. Him and Roots over there do a great job. I'm a big fan. And yeah, they're cool, knowledgeable, good guys.
Thank
And Brian, you are more powerful now because now you're surrounded by two metalheads. Yes.
What are you gonna do?
I'll tell you what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna go change my T-shirt. No, dude, for real. It is awesome having you here. I always say I don't watch other YouTube channels because I don't have time, and also there's like the whole creativity thing where it's like I don't want to accidentally be stealing shit from other people. But anytime I'm on YouTube and I see that Virtual Strangers is live, I just click it, and like it's whether I'm watching it actively and commenting in the chat, or it's just on in the background. I'm usually there. So definitely check out Wes and Roots over there at Virtual Strangers. Good shit going on. Big time.
Brian watches them more than he does me.
I
That's how
didn't even
good-
know you had a channel, AJ. I was totally unaware. We also got Donatello, the scientist game cat, with the $5 tip. Says we're gonna need a meow from Wes.
Meow.
Sultry,
good.
seductive. Yeah, I agree. Awesome. Guys, so Dave's not here, obviously. Dave will be back hopefully Wednesday. He just had some stuff to take care of, and but everything is fine. Every time I say, oh, somebody's not here, or we have to cancel a show or something, I always forget to say everything's fine. So this is me saying, don't worry, everything's fine. Everything's fine. He'll be back on Wednesday once I untie him. Guys, we have so much news to take care of. Let's do a little bit of housekeeping first. First and foremost, you should definitely join our Discord if you haven't already. We actually had an awesome AMA with Jimmy Bowers, the community manager over at End Dreams. Obviously, team that makes Fracked. That happened for an hour today. You can go back and read it. It's been archived. You can check it out, see what everybody had to say, see all the answers to all the questions he was presented. There were some hard-hitting questions today because it happened an hour after the reviews came out. More on that later. Also, make sure you hit us up on patreon.com/withoutparole games if you want to be on that scroll down below. It goes by about 14,000 times an hour, so you get to see your name. You get to wave at yourself and go, meow. It's very fun. And that's pretty much it. Let's kick it off, man. We got a lot of stuff to talk about. I can't wait to hear Wes's opinion on all sorts of things that we've probably talked about before. This is going to add a little bit of much-needed lifeblood into this show.
Absolutely, man. Well, to kick things off, it is official. Now, this was a rumor before, but Arashi, Castles of Sin, is getting its physical version releasing on September 3rd via Perp Games. And the physical edition will also include a digital art book and soundtrack.
And I hate that. Like I absolutely hate the fact that it's not the bonus stuff isn't physical because it looks so good. We've shown the picture of it before. It looks just so well designed, and then it's like, oh, by the way, it's digital. I'm like, psh, I'm out. Wes, did you play Arashi?
I did actually, and I got to say I'm enjoying it more now than I did at first. I kind of feel like I was a little bit harsh on it at first because I mean I don't know about you guys, but I don't feel like the game makes the best first impression. But as you settle into it, as you progress through the levels, I feel like the game really opens up and it starts to become fun.
Yeah, I actually thought it was. I actually thought it was more fun the second time I played. Like the further I got into the game, I was like, oh, more of this. And for some reason, it just felt like more of the same, and it was dragging on. And then once I sort of knew what to expect and went back into it, it was a totally different story. I was like, oh wait, hold on. Now that I know what to expect, I'm having fun with exactly what I know is coming. Yeah, I feel like I was a little harsh too, and I don't know exactly where all that comes from.
My thoughts on this game have continued to go up and up and up after playing it more and more. And there was one thing I realized was that the patch notes, we had a review copy, and this was a small little oopsie, and that I was supposed to get with my review copy. It said that there was going to be some bugs, little issues. Well, I didn't know that they had a lot of my complaints specifically listed because I never got the patch notes. And so now the game has been patched, and the game I played on stream just a couple days ago felt like a significant difference. I won't say like a huge difference, but definitely a significant difference in the playing time of it. And yeah, like I am really loving this game now, and it's really starting to grow on me. And for all these physical collectors out there, this is great news.
Yeah, I definitely went back in. Because we were told about about that. It was pre-release. That we'll have some bugs that aren't going to be in the final release. So I was super careful about that. And played a significant amount before I published my review just to make sure that I wasn't like way off on anything. And yeah, I just think it's one of those games that grows on you over time, and unfortunately, it doesn't completely grow on you by the time you finish it for the first time, which is really strange. Maybe if it was a 14-hour game, we'd be in love with it by like hour 12.
Any word on a pro patch for that one? Because I feel like it would benefit greatly from one.
They definitely have a lot of stuff in the works. They are not done with this game yet, and that is also great news as well. I don't know if I'm allowed to say specifically what they're working on, but I've been talking with them. They've been really open to feedback. Another reason you should join our Discord. We have dedicated threads to lots of different games, and the devs are very active in there, and they are definitely taking in feedback. And Wes, I think you nailed it on the head there when you said this game doesn't make the greatest first impression, but I think over time, once you play it more and more and get settled in and get a little accustomed to it, I think you start to realize the value that it has, and that's why it kind of grows on you over time.
Yeah, and I feel like again, I felt kind of bad, upon subsequent playthroughs because I fell into a trap that we talk about a lot on our show, and we try not to be overcritical of what we call day one jank because a lot of games, especially from smaller teams, have day one jank that typically goes away within the first week.
Right.
And what you were saying with the patch notes and the subsequent update just goes to show that. Maybe my reactions were a bit knee jerk in my stream that we did.
Same.
It's a little tough. It's a little tough. We do live in a world of day one patches, and Endeavor One was very clear about letting us know, for the most part, what was coming on day one. But the fact is I don't think you can play through an entire game and then check some patch notes and play for like 20 minutes and go. And have the updated correct impression that you need to have of a game. So it's just a weird time that we live in, and I'm always baffled by day one patches anyway. Like that's a whole story for a different day. But I'm like, what were you doing like 10 days ago? Like that this shit wasn't in. I get it, like we hear about crunch and everything. Like I'm not
Right.
fucking, I pay attention to gaming news, but still I'm like I don't know. It's just weird. It's weird, but. I am excited for the physical edition, regardless of the fact that all the cool stuff that comes in it is digital, because it's got really nice box art. I think it looks really cool. I think it's gonna look really nice up on my shelf with all the other games that haven't left the cellophane.
Going right here.
Oh yeah, it's going up on the wall.
Oh yeah.
Wow,
Yeah, it's going on the shelf right here. I don't know if it's on the thing, but
yeah. That's also a wall. It's not just a shelf. What's the shelf attached to, AJ? We're going to give a shout out to Scott Jessico, future past Scott Jessico, PSN, Harry Fellow, PSVR Game Cap for life, with the 179 quid, saying, hello, Brian, not Dave, Wes, and AJ, Game Cats, meow. We covered everything in very few number of words. Thank you very much, Scott Jessico. Also, GC13, Diet Pepsi Cat, what's up, tip, with the $20 tip, says, shout out to the amazing cats in the house and out in the litter box. Best community ever. I agree.
love this community, man.
Thank you so
Love
much
this community.
for the...
This community, Brian, I got a little side note. Found a GunCon 2, and I know cats don't usually like getting a shout out or anything, but there was a cat named Josh that is one of our dearest friends, and he sent me a GunCon 2 with Time Crisis 2, Brian. Oh my God, talk about the greatest community ever. My year is made. My life is complete. I can't wait to try it out.
Wow. I mean...
You know, I wouldn't feel right sitting idly by and hear you guys pump up your community as the best community ever. I just want to shout my community out because they're pretty solid too. But it makes sense because literally about half of my community are game cats.
Right.
So I guess it's
Sure.
fitting, right?
We get around, man. We get around.
That is the word on the street. Yeah, shout out to everybody in West's community. Hopefully some of them stop by to check out today's show because he's here. We also got a Big Show with a $10 tip. Says, glad I could catch a live stream before I leave in a few hours for overseas. Keep up the good work. Maybe when I come back, PSVR will have AAA games that the Quest has. That Quest has. Take care, everyone. Big Show's our Resident Evil. He's our resident Quest troll guy, but he means well, and take care, man. Like, take care of yourself.
Have a safe trip. Have a very safe trip, Big Show.
And, of course, Delirium Drew VR, one of our faithful moderators with the $5 tip, says, big booms for all the amazing folks in the chat, and Brian, AJ, Dave, and guest host Wes for being awesome VR strange human gamer cats. Thank you, Drew.
I guess we get that one more before we get on to the next subject.
Do we have one more? Oh, holy shit. Keep
Yes.
rolling in. This is all your fault, Wes. This doesn't happen when Dave is here. We
Let's
got
bring the money.
Nihilist Ryan, the game Feline with a $5 tip, says, just got my platinum for Midway 1976. Super easy for you trophy hunters out there, and I had a blast doing it. Big heart. I've been meaning to get back to that. I've only got one more trophy to get. It's the one to get all of your attributes, your upgrades up to level 15. I'm so damn close. I just got to play a few more levels, a few more times, grind it out, you know. And Creeper Betty with the $10 tip. Just shout out to Wes. Great to see you here. Shout out to Tiff. I love you. Shout out to all the game cats. Meow meow purr. This feels like a weird dream, man. It's like when's the actual show gonna start? Like 14 goddamn minutes.
Creeper Betty.
Thank you, Creeper Betty. We love you.
Well, guys. All right. So the next subject, guys. XR Games, developers of Angry Birds Under Pressure and All-Start Fruit Racing VR. Never heard of that one. But also, more importantly, Zombieland Headshot Fever, which is coming to PlayStation VR soon. This is actually, they netted $2.1 million expansion deal to expand the team and create new franchises. This is huge news. I know they're not maybe one of the most well-known developers, but everything they've made has been pretty generally polished. And yeah, this is great to see, Brian, another developer, hitting it big time with the monies.
I'm just glad this turned out good, man, because when we first saw the trailer for this, we were like, what are you doing? And then everybody who played it said, this is fantastic. Wes, have you played this thing yet?
Which one?
Yes. Actually, I participated in a community event not long after it launched on Quest, but my initial reaction was the same. When I saw that launch trailer, I mean, it was almost like a joke on our show. We don't like to laugh, but we kind of did a little bit because it looked like, from the initial trailer, mind you, it looked like a 2016 VR game, to be honest. It looked like a pretty basic rail shooter. And it is a rail shooter, but it's anything but a basic rail shooter. Once you get into the game, not only does it look way better. It's actually looks remarkably good in the Quest standalone headset. But the gameplay is super original, super fun, and addictive. And I got hooked on it pretty quickly, to be honest.
That's really good to hear, man. Because yeah, like I'm okay being wrong. I love being wrong, especially when I think something's gonna be bad, and everyone says, "Oh no, you're absolutely incorrect about that." But I'm super excited to actually get my hands on this one. It is coming to PlayStation VR later this year. I don't think they've given us a date yet, but man, this is good
Supposed
news.
to be coming. Yeah, it's just supposed to be coming soon. And yeah, I caught a lot of flack for saying, man, this has got like guilty pleasure written all over it because I'm such a fan of House of the Dead. I was just talking about light gun games. And yeah, I love kind of rail shooter arcade experiences. Of course, Rush of Blood being like the pinnacle of all of those in VR. The reason I bought a PlayStation VR headset in the first place. But I've also enjoyed stuff like Crisis Brigade. So glad to hear, Wes, that it is actually a pretty good game. And really can't wait to check it out. Like I said, supposed to be coming anytime pretty soon. Fingers crossed for October, maybe, since it's kind of a zombie Halloween themed thing. It'd be perfect timing, right?
That would be nice.
Yeah, man.
Really nice.
I'm sorry. I didn't mean to step on you there, Brian. Yeah, this
please.
game is going to surprise you, especially those of you out there who like chasing leaderboards, because really that's the name of the game, is getting through the maps as quickly as you possibly can, which is pretty standard for a rail shooter type game. But what isn't so standard is there's a fairly detailed progression system in this game where you progress your character, you progress all of your wide array of weapons. It's actually there's a lot more to it than you would think, judging by face value.
Excellent, man.
Upgrades are my favorite.
Congratulations.
Yeah, right. Oh yeah, right. As far as the news story is concerned, we're just totally jumped ship the second we had a chance to talk about zombies. We just stopped talking about zombies and decided to start talking about this is. I'm wicked happy for the team. Shit's looking good, and that means good stuff for VR as well.
Absolutely. We've been seeing so many articles about recent success stories, and yeah, we love to see that versus them closing down and stuff. So, all right, guys. So moving on. This comes from Reddit, and apparently, I'm sorry, not Reddit. This comes from Reset Era, and it's from a user named No Life BR. Now, this is a bug that's occurring that is happening with Resident Evil 7, where apparently it lets you download the full game for free. Now, we don't condone this type of activity, but I just thought it was important to report on it.
We don't condone it. We're just telling you all about it. If you don't have it, go check the PlayStation Store and see if you can get it for free.
Oh, I don't know. The way it happens, guys, just reporting on it, the way it happens is that apparently people, this has only been confirmed in Brazil and the Netherlands. I have received confirmation that it works in the US now. But apparently, if you go and download the Resident Evil 7 teaser demo, beginning hour, on the PS Store, you can open the demo from the main menu and choose Buy Resident Evil 7 Biohazard. When the PS Store opens up, choose the third image on the right that says Game Page, and then press Choose Version button, and then you choose the second version and press Buy. And then apparently, voila! So crazy, man.
So we don't condone this, but here's a step-by-step way to do it. Like detailed.
Don't do it.
Like make sure you just pause the GAMESCAST, right? Rewind and listen step by step, and make sure you do it exactly the way AJ said. But we don't condone it.
Terrible.
Yeah, you can examine it for scientific purposes. We know none of you out there are actually going to exploit this. But with that said, I've always kind of felt weird about DRM anyway, because I mean, some people can call it stealing, but if I can pull something out of midair in my bedroom, am I really stealing?
If it just lands on your computer, But anyways, yeah. Nick Mulo says, "Who the hell doesn't have Resident Evil 7 already?"
Seriously.
I agree.
Listen, if you don't have Resident Evil 7 yet, right, and this is the way that's finally going to get it onto, then by all means, go forth and download, and then report back and let us know that we were right for the last 4 years. I'm telling you that it's the best bar none, but best PSVR game out there. There is none better.
That's true. I agree with that wholeheartedly. And who knows? Maybe someone accidentally goes all the way through all the steps, ends up playing the game, and then goes to pick up the gold edition, which I believe is on sale right now for half off.
There you go. There you go.
Yeah, $20 for gold edition. It's great, man. Well, all right, guys. So it's no secret that we've been slammed with PSVR releases. Finally, the drought is over. You know, we kicked off summer with Sniper Elite VR, which was a blast. But just this past week, we've gotten a whole bunch of games, and I actually did a poll on Twitter that asked, "What was your favorite PSVR game released of last week?"
Wait a minute. Is this news story you just advertising your Twitter account?
No, it is not.
That's all this
PSVR
is.
Underground.
We all see. It's very, very transparent here. We all see right through this bullshit, man. That's exactly what you're doing. Go follow AJ at PSVR Underground. I just consolidated the whole news story into one sentence.
So it was actually, I was pleasantly surprised to see that there was like neck and neck. But, you know, it was between Synth Riders, Arashi, Castles of Sin, Smoke and Thunder DLC, which was the free Pistol Whip update, and then Blair Witch VR Edition. And much to my surprise and Brian's secret extra 5 accounts,
I have 7
Blair
accounts.
Witch VR Edition actually ended up winning, but it was very, very close. And Arashi and Smoke and Thunder were neck and neck, followed by Synth Riders. So really surprising there, man. Did you guys have a favorite from last week, or did you have like a game you considered the best?
I voted.
What did you vote for?
I voted, and I voted for Blair Witch. I think that this was an amazing port. I am a bit partial to horror games. It's my favorite genre by far in VR. And while you know, the gameplay might not be as active as some of the other titles and some of the other genres, it's all about the atmosphere, and they nailed that with super high interactivity. Pro patch on day one. How about that? I really enjoyed my time in Blair Witch, and as great as Synth Riders is, you know, as great as all the other titles are, you know, admittedly, I didn't try Smoke and Thunder yet. So, but I really enjoyed Blair Witch, and I think it deserved to win.
You keep saying shit like that, Wes, and you're going to find yourself a permanent spot in the middle of the screen here on Gamescast Live.
Resident Evil 7 best game, a horror game bias.
I'm
outnumbered now. The seats feeling a little bit hot with Wes here.
You know what? Let's have the top 20 debate right now. all my favorite games are getting on this fucker. This is going to be great. Oh, man. Yeah, I'm right there with you, man. Obviously, I voted for Blair Witch maybe 2 to 3 times with all my accounts, and I'm really, really happy that it won. It was absolutely surprised after the very kind of disappointing port of Layers of Fear VR. The fact that they kind of blew it out of the water with Blair Witch was absolutely incredible. So that was my surprise and my favorite game of the last week for sure.
J Meow donates $2 and says, "Can't stress how great Blair Witch is. So good." I will say, of these games, it is
everything.
Mind-blowing to me that Blair Witch ended up being like the most full-length, most polished, least buggy game of all these. However, and was a huge surprise to me. I hated Layers of Fear. Hated Layers of Fear. It was so bad on PSVR. So bad. People say it's on $12 right now. I say still don't buy it. It's so bad. But that being said, I got to give, as much as I love Synth Riders, I got to give mine. I gave my vote to Arashi. Like you said, that game just continues to grow on me. Gets more and more fun to play over time, and yeah, I can't wait to see. I'm excited to see what updates they bring to the game because I think they have big plans for it.
Hot take:
Ninja.
Bullet's a better sidekick than Haru.
I disagree.
I agree.
If I had the option for both, I'd probably have Haru by my side over.
Although I'm sorry, I must say Bullet needs to shut the hell up. I mean,
Yes.
he's just
Oh my
constantly
God.
going off. And if you're like me, I like to linger a little bit. I like to look around, and Bullet's just not having it. He's like,
Yep.
"Come on, we got to get out of here." Yeah, so
Yep.
I will give Haru that. At least he was quiet, and he had this super awesome ability to float across crevices.
Parkour. Haru has mastered the art of the parkour.
Oh wow.
And
Parkour.
she is the greatest, man. She's amazing. All right, guys.
Wait,
so
yeah, let me take care of a couple
okay.
tips here before we move on to the next news story. We got tax refund. The Decalogue, I still don't know how to pronounce it. I'm sorry. Defines right and wrong. GameCat with the $5 tip says fun facts. The worldwide flood was the first time it ever rained. Next time will be fire, not water. And the rainbow is a promise that rain won't destroy the earth again.
Wow.
Come on,
That
people
was
now. Smile on your
biblical.
brother. Everybody get together. Creeper Betty, PSVR with the $5 tip says Blair Witch makes my mouth dry and my palms sweaty. You shouldn't smoke pot while you play it. It scares the crap out of me and I love it. I take it back. You should smoke pot while you play it. Apparently, it's very effective. Good job. Thank you so much, Creeper Betty. And thank you so much, Tax Refund. Future Past Scott Jessica, PSN Harry Feller, PSVR GameCat for life with the $2 tip. I'm just rounding up. I vote for you to smash the like button, GameCats. You want to say that, AJ? Smash the like button, AJ.
Smash the like button, Tarzan.
There it is. That's what everybody tuned in for. Yeah.
Oh man.
All right, let's move
guys.
on.
Brian, this brings us to one of our first main headlines, and we want to talk about this news that we got from a reliable source. Pretty reliable. I mean, but something regarding AAA games, Brian.
Was I the source?
You were the sauce.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, well, we talked. We talked a little bit, quite a bit, the week before last, I think, about the summit that Sony had regarding PlayStation VR 2, and not only did they go into a ton of details about all of the specs and everything we should expect from the headset itself and the controllers, and blah blah blah, technical details. That wasn't the stuff that excited me. Like, it's cool that we're going to get the shit that we want, but it's kind of the stuff that we expect at this point. What was cool was when they started talking about games during the summit, and they were talking about how on PlayStation VR 2, the big focus is going to be on hybrid games. And hybrid games, for anyone not in the know, are basically going to be games that are playable on your flat screen, like the next Call of Duty game, the next Spider-Man game, whatever. Anything that's playing on the flat screen game is going to also be playable on PlayStation VR 2. And that's just, you put on the headset and then you use the orb controllers, and there's like a separate mode, right? It's the full game, but like then you're in the game. So it says, instead of having games that were designed for VR specifically, we're going to have a lot of these big budget AAA games are going to also have just a VR mode, just another way to play them. And so a lot of people, there's been a weird argument going on, and I'm not sure how weird it is. In my head, it's weird, but I think a lot of people make good points as to whether this is the correct way moving forward. Is this the best thing for VR? Is this the best thing for PSVR 2 specifically? And so I'm thrilled that we have Wes here, because I really, really, really want to hear his opinions on this. So I don't know. Do you want to kick this off for us, Wes?
Yeah, well, first of all, I think that this is great news for VR as a whole, because we all know the one thing that we really lack as far as attracting new users into VR are these big AAA titles. And we kind of have been struggling for years with this chicken and egg scenario, where we can't get users if we don't have AAA games, but we can't get AAA developers if we don't have users to buy the games, and so on and so forth. And I've long been a proponent, wishing that Sony would implement something like a 3D theater mode inside of PlayStation VR, where they have a version of their AAA releases, their Spider-Mans, their God of Wars, what have you, where you can put the headset on, go play it on a screen in VR, a huge screen in 3D. It might not be native VR, but I do think it would sell headsets. But this approach, this hybrid approach, completely blows that out of the water. And I think as long as they don't do this exclusively, that this is a great thing. And obviously, we're still going to need games that are built from the ground up for VR, so we could get that rich interaction that we all love. But I think as long as they keep a nice balance, give us the blockbuster games, give us the VR mode, if you will, but still give us some other games. Give us the Farpoint sequel. Give us sequels in general. I think that this is going to be a really good thing, not just for PlayStation VR, but for VR as a whole.
Yeah. AJ?
Damn good answer. Yeah, I mean, he nailed it on the head once again, man. I think when it comes to moving the needle, when it comes to selling headsets, the thing that gets people's attention are these well-known IPs, well-known established IPs, and things like that. I love Synth Riders. I love Arashi. I love all these games that are coming out. They don't sell tons and tons of headsets like a Grand Theft Auto would in VR. Like, I mean, you're talking about raising the bar from hundreds, potentially hundreds, trying to crack at best, stuff like even like Beat Saber has just cracked like 1 million. I'm talking about selling millions and millions of software sales, and big AAA games and stuff like that are kind of the gateway for getting lots of people to buy headsets, and then they try it and they're like, this is amazing, and then other developers will benefit from it as well. There are some games, indie games and stuff, or either indie studios or built from the ground up games that can move the needle, but that's few and far between. VR is not going to sustain itself off of one Saints and Sinners tier game a year. It needs a little bit more than that. It needs more variety for people, for other types of players as well.
Yeah, you're never going to convince AAA studios to spend millions and millions and millions of dollars on an untested market. But what it seems like Sony's doing, based on all of the hardware specs and a lot of the stuff that's built into PSVR2, is that they're trying to make it super, super fucking easy to just literally flip a switch and be like, okay, now your game's in VR, right? Now you got to go back in and retool a few things for the orb controllers and getting your hands in there and actual interaction and stuff. But like working with the OG PS4 has been a nightmare for so many developers because there's just not enough processing power there to flip a switch and make everything run the way it needs to, right? A lot of work went into Resident Evil 7, and then even that was just DualShock 4, right? Wes and I are sitting here saying it's our favorite PSVR game, and you're still playing with a DualShock 4. You don't have hands in that game. But then Sony's saying, hey, we want this initiative. We want this hybrid initiative to actually take it a step further. We want the VR modes in these games to make it feel like these games were built from the ground up in VR. So it's literally the best of both worlds. Not only getting AAA games that are seemingly coming with your flat screen version on the same disc, but you're also getting like a full immersive VR version of it. And I have a hard time believing that could be bad for the industry in any regard whatsoever. If we get more Resident Evil 7s, if we get one of those a month, which I'd venture to guess is going to be more than that. But if we got one of those a month, I mean, that would be infinitely more quality AAA titles than we've gotten over the last 5 years. I mean, just night and day difference. And I mean, that's a future I'm looking forward to.
And it's a bit of a masterstroke on Sony's part. Now, I've always kind of maintained that Sony doesn't really look at these VR companies as competition because we all know Sony does so much more than just VR, but they all are kind of playing in the same space. And all this innovation that Sony's doing with the hardware, this can be copied. Facebook can do eye tracking, Valve could do haptics if they want to. And as much as Facebook is subsidizing, VR gaming by paying these large developers to make these big IP VR games, there's no way that any other strictly VR player can do anything to even come close to match the kind of catalog that this is going to build for Sony. I think it's absolutely brilliant on their part, kind of winning the game before it even starts, because we all know it's all about the games. At the end of the day, it's what we all come for. So, I think it's a really good move from a competitive standpoint on their part.
It is a little bit interesting to me because I don't feel like all of the same rules apply to VR. in your practical sense tells you yes, that is the case. But there's been things that have happened a little bit different to me. That's been one of the most exciting things to witness in this first generation of VR, which has mostly been in its infancy, has been like regular rules have not necessarily applied. I mean, there's not a standard. There's not everything has been standardized yet. Stuff like licensed games, which used to be like, oh, like these are the crap licensed money grab, cash grab games. No, this has been a way for developers to actually get the funding and resources they need to put out a good project, because they're backed by people with money and bigger studios and stuff that the smaller independent, just 2-3 dev brothers, sister teams don't have that kind of firepower to work with. And so there's things like that. But you mentioned as well, I don't know if this is what you were saying or not, but you were saying that like when it comes to the hybrids, this is what's important to me. I think this first gen, I was okay with games being, sometimes with the DualShock, especially stuff like Resident Evil. But this is something I want to see moving forward, is not just games that are just put into VR. Not a game that is just third person and you're looking around in the world in VR. I think that is great. But I think what's really going to show people the potential that VR fully has is what Sony has said, which is where they want to have a focus on games feeling made for VR as well as the console quality. So not only put into VR, but using the orbs, utilizing the feedback in the controllers and the headset, also giving you arms, giving you full body IK, and being able to reach out and actually touch and feel. The more immersion you can add to this, I think is going to propel VR even further.
Yeah, the cats actually have a lot to say about this too. If you guys don't, I'm going to go way out of order on these tips, just so I can do this properly for the show. But Looper the Game Cat with the €5 says, "You don't have hands in the game" is a story spoiler for Resident Evil 7. That literally made me laugh during that conversation. That was awesome. Thank you. Tax refund. The Decalogue defines right and wrong. Game Cat with $5 tip says it's pronounced Decalogue, and it means the 10 Commandments. It's where we get the expression written in stone because it was written in stone. Man, I didn't know I was going to learn anything today, and I'm really, really happy that I did. I should pay more attention in high school. I went to Catholic school. Long story. Mark Bringsley with the £5 says, "I can't see every game being a hybrid game." I can't either, Mark. I feel it'll be more of a selected number. So let's, there's another great tip that I want to address as well. But let's talk to Mark's point first. Like, do you see a good majority of games moving forward for PSVR2, these hybrid games? Do you expect a lot? Like, what percentage do you guys think we're actually going to see when it comes to, let's just specify AAA games? What percentage of AAA games do you think are going to also have a PSVR2 mode?
Okay, so are you asking what percentage of the big AAA releases are going to have a VR mode,
Yes.
or are you asking what percentage of the big VR releases are going to be hybrid games?
No, the first one. Like, let's look at flat screen AAA games. What percentage of those do you think will actually take advantage of this hybrid option?
I think that expecting a half is being kind of generous. I don't think it's going to be every game. I think that Sony's smart enough to select games that are going to fit well with VR. We got to keep in mind that, again, they're going to want to strike a balance. They're going to want to have games like AJ was talking about, which shows off VR's full potential. But when you consider the numbers, right? 120 million PS4s out there. VR's numbers are still very, very small. So even though we're coming into the next generation of VR, it's still very much going to be an adoption phase for most gamers. So they're going to need games that they know how to play. And I feel like that these hybrid titles are going to fill that role somewhat. It's going to get them in the headset, put a dual sense in their hands, give them games that they know how to play, and then that will be a bridge to some of the other built for VR titles. But to answer your question, I don't think it's going to be. I mean, 20%, maybe 30% of them, I think is being optimistic, to be honest.
AJ?
Oh, as far as like, yeah, AAA first party or AAA, is it first party or not first
I'm
party?
going to say all AAA games.
All AAA games. Oh,
Yeah.
of all AAA games, then that number goes down just a little bit for sure.
Yeah.
But I think there's going to be more than what you you might be expecting, though. I don't think it's going to be a super. I think there'll be a ample amount that will hit VR as well for sure.
I think personally, I think we're going to see a surprising number of Sony first-party AAA games get this treatment. I think we're going to see upwards of 50%. That's me being optimistic, sure.
That was my gut first feeling, yeah.
But if Sony's the one pushing this and saying this look what you can do, guys, and it's very minimal effort and blah blah blah, and they're trying to set the stage for all the other developers out there, I think we could see upwards of 50%. I would say the next Uncharted game, the next Last of Us game, the next Horizon, Gran Turismo. I mean, these games are just fucking fit for it, right? But then I really think that as far as third party stuff goes, it'll be as low as 10% getting the ball rolling, and that number will just grow and grow and grow throughout the course of the generation as people see more success and they see the numbers and see how many people are playing on PSVR2.
Right, like how we just saw kind of like EA and Motive, start to dip their toes in a little bit with Star Wars Squadrons.
Please, Dead Space. Please, Dead Space. Please, Dead Space.
Yeah, man. I wouldn't be surprised if that happens.
I wouldn't either.
With their experience, or what was the other one? Hitman. Those devs, IO Interactive, jumping in for the first time, and yeah, like it's definitely a lot of developers that are starting to have more interest in it. So. Yeah, I think it's going to actually really blow people away. Now, when you say the thing is though, I think there's still going to be. This is the problem with this number. I don't feel comfortable saying 50% when it comes to hybrids, but I do think that there's still going to be some spin-offs, some VR only, built from the ground up VR, even just smaller games or experiences or something. Not experiences, but games that are smaller than the other AAA ones. So I don't think they're all going to be hybrids, which is why that 50% goes down for me. Mm-hmm. But there's still going to be something that like compensates for that, basically.
Well, the other question I want to discuss comes from a tip from Walid Sahid Faridi. Hopefully I get that name right, with the $2 Canadian tip. It says, as long as we get VR exclusives as well, this is good. Now, this is I know we're kind of going long on this conversation here, but I feel like this is a very, very important part of this conversation. And that's, what do you think all this AAA, infiltration into the VR space is going to do to all of our beloved indie studios that have been like kind of leading the charge all this time? We got Vitruvius, who made Shadow Legend. They're working on their next big kind of open world-ish game. We got Sin Studio, who just killed it with Swordsman, and he's working on his next game. It's like, is all of this going to sort of bury those teams a little bit? Like, oh, we can play fucking Call of Duty in VR. We can play Resident Evil Village in VR. And here's this and here's that. It's like, are we gonna lose some excitement for, these teams that we have so much love for?
Well, I think that they're going to fill a very important role with keeping Sony honest. We're talking about how we still want games that are developed specifically for VR, and I feel like if Sony doesn't give us those games, that these guys will. Now, beyond that, I think they all stand to benefit, or at least a good portion of them stand to benefit from all of the extra users that are coming into VR, and I wouldn't be surprised at all if the top indie studios end up being acquired either by Facebook, by Sony. There's going to be a bit of a run on these studios if VR starts to take off the way we all think it's going to. And I think that a lot of these indie studios won't be indie for very long.
Yeah, I totally let Wes go first because he basically said exactly what I was thinking. I think if anything, they're going to benefit from it because these are going to push the hardware. And when I was talking about earlier how the normal rules don't apply to VR, it's because I really feel like the hardware itself is a selling point, not necessarily while games have always been what pushes consoles. I think that's still just as important, but I also think the PSVR2 hardware is going to be able to push a ton of sales just by itself as well. And I think indie devs are going to benefit from that as a result.
Two things. First, I know when I'm petting Tornado, it kind of looks like I'm giving Wes a handy. I apologize for that.
Looks like.
Like there's only one reason he's stuck around this long. No, but the other thing is, I actually think Johnny Rye popped the stray cat in the chat killed it with his comment. He said, to the point though, Brian, the small teams have been there. The small teams that have been there will be just like the indie devs of flat screen games. There will be a good balance, and I 100% agree with you. I think there was a point where AAA games got really stale and really boring, and before VR came around, I looked to indie games and indie studios like Gone Home to give me like something refreshing and something interesting and something heartfelt and something new and interesting to be excited for in video games. And I think that will continue to be the trend in VR, even next generation. We'll obviously get the big blockbuster things from big studios, but then we'll get these, maybe emotional experiences or interesting or discovering new ways to use VR that maybe big studios aren't willing to take a risk on. And that to me is like super exciting.
Yeah, that's a good.
Oh, sorry.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Indie devs, to me, once the indie dev scene becomes oversaturated, that's going to pose more of a threat. The independent developers, independent games are going to pose more of a threat to each other than I think AAA games are at some point. I mean, of course, if you release a indie game, a really niche indie game against a AAA game, of course it's going to get buried in most cases. But I think what I noticed with the PS4 generation was that independent game developer support was this huge selling point. It was massive at first, and then towards the end, now you're getting Rainbow Unicorn Laser Princess and like
Sweet.
all these other weird obscure named games. I mean, I know it sounds amazing, but I just Curses and Chaos and stuff. These games start to struggle because there's just so much to keep up with, and so it's really up to the indie devs at this point to find their way of getting their name out there more so than just because you're on this big successful system means you're gonna sell a whole bunch. It's not gonna completely work that way.
Yeah, it's going to force them to up their game, right? Because there's still plenty of room for innovation in VR. I mean, it's still the frontier days, and not only innovation with gameplay, but I mean, we're seeing VR give birth to new genres of games that we've never seen before. And I still think that there's a lot of that left to be seen. And basically, it's going to force these indie devs to make sure before they go with the game that they have a good solid concept like that, something different, and it's going to pretty much make them think twice before they produce some like Steam VR level shovelware and then try to bring it to the Sony store. It's just not going to work.
Wes, I hope you don't have anywhere to be, man, because we're just getting to the main focus of the show.
I'm good, bro.
And that is our Fracked review. Fracked officially comes out tomorrow for the deluxe edition for anyone who decided to pay the $35 for it, and then on the 20th for the standard edition, which is $29.99. But review embargo lifts today, and all three of us have played it, and I think we have a lot to say in a true Gamescast live fashion. We definitely want to start with what we loved about Fracked. Wes, you are the guest of honor. What are you loving about Fracked so far?
Well, I'm loving a lot about Fracked, to be quite honest, but what I really probably my favorite thing about this title specifically is the fact that it shows what the original headset can still do if people develop for the PlayStation 5 with I'm sorry, I'm tripping over my words. This is the first game we've had on PlayStation VR that's developed specifically with maximizing what the PS5 can do. And there's been a lot of debate, maybe not so much in your community, but in the larger VR community with how valuable this headset still is. Does it have another year? Can it make it another year until we get the next iteration? I think playing Fracked, seeing how beautiful this game is, how crystal clear it looks on that, 1080 by 960 OLED from 5 years ago, It just goes to show, one, that we need more of this on PS5. Not only patches for older PSVR titles, but newer VR titles that really focus on utilizing PlayStation 5 to its fullest potential. I guess the short answer would be it's beautiful graphically, but really, I only tried it on PS5, and I think that has at least something to do with how awesome it looks.
Yeah, no, I can't. I mean, I think that's probably the number one thing that everybody says about Frack the second they try it, and it's a combination of obviously the technical achievements that it does, and it does scale for anyone who's playing it on the OG PS4. It's not going to look quite as good, but it uses what's the term?
Uncapped dynamic resolution.
Dynamic resolution. That's what I was looking for. Thank you. And so basically it just pushes the visuals to whatever the console is capable of, and it just looks fucking beautiful. But part of why it looks so beautiful is the art design. You can see just like from watching this extended gameplay trailer that it's just so colorful, and so few shooters take that risk of saying, hey, we're going to make a game all about blowing people away with guns and shit and running around and blowing shit up, and we're also going to make it like just rainbow colored. It's just these amazing bright, like saturated colors. It looks like Borderlands, but even Borderlands has sort of a pale look in comparison to this. This just blows it away from a visual, like a artistic standpoint, I guess. I'm just the guys at Endream, the guys, the girls, everybody at Endream fucking killed it. Fracking killed it.
Yeah, it looks amazing, and like you said, on PS5 looks even better. This is one of the things where the OLED screen actually has a huge advantage, because again, that contrast, those really blacks, those really purple neon purples and stuff that just look stunning. And it looks fantastic. And yeah, this just goes to show you, when people think PSVR is always blurry, it's like, no, it's the game. I mean, granted, we are playing on PS5, so maybe this isn't the same tech that was available, the resources
but
that were
it's still
available.
Playing through the same headset.
It is playing through the headset.
So it's capable of it.
Right. The headset itself is capable of it. But man, for me, the gameplay in this game is so good that they nailed the locomotion system. It is just like everything feels exactly almost like where that standardized feel is. And yeah, I mean, there's the cover system that's absolutely fantastic. They made the guns really easy to use, but gameplay wise, my favorite thing. This is my favorite thing about the game, period. The skiing sections, man. Oh my God, the mix of skiing and shooting and action. I remember people telling me when I made dream borders in Dreams, people kept telling me, oh, you should add guns and stuff. And I was like, I have no idea how I would do that, how that would make sense. This uses the action movie trope to allow you to combine like extreme sports like skiing and then, shooting. And to me, it just makes for this just like high octane, really amazing experience.
Yeah, you covered a lot of ground there, and the cover system is just incredible. Like it's how has this not been done well before? I mean, I made a joke in my I kind of kicked off my review by talking about Crisis on the Planet of the Apes, which is a joke trying to compare Crisis on the Planet of the Apes, like a terrible fucking VR experience, to this super crazy polished, over the top, like high production values action game that just sort of does everything right. Comparing those two is ridiculous, but the fact is 3 years ago, 4 years ago, whenever Crisis on the Planet of the Apes came out, it did show us that, hey, there's a great way to use cover in VR, and it's super duper simple. Just grab onto a surface and pull yourself in and out of cover. Grab onto a wall. You can climb up doing the exact same thing. And it made so much sense. And so to see a game that looks and plays this well to also use that mechanic, I mean, I don't think it's the hardest game in the world. I feel like I could have run into a lot of rooms with guns blazing, but it was just way more fun to grab onto a crate or grab onto a wall and like pull myself in and out and play, like getting into the role. We always talk about role playing in VR games. That's something that I wanted to do in Fracked. I wanted to hide behind boxes and shoot and do some blind firing because it was just more fun to play that way. When the game gives you a mechanic and says, you don't have to play it this way. Like, this reminds me of Arashi, right? It says Arashi gave you a ton of things to do, but didn't really like reward you for doing it the way they wanted you to. This does, big time, just in the fun factor. It's too much fun to play it the way they want you to.
Yeah, I agree wholeheartedly with both you and AJ. I think that the skiing sections in this game are so fun. I feel that mechanic, they could build a game around just that, just like a basic arcade shooter game where you're skiing downhill and using the head-based steering to make your way down. I had so much fun doing that. It's probably the highlight of the game to me, and yeah, I couldn't agree more. And with regards to the cover system, I enjoyed that for the most part. I found it really interesting that we're here on this, excuse me, in this mining facility, and I don't know if there's another mining facility on the planet that has this many zip lines in it. I mean, those zip lines are everywhere, and I really appreciate it, even if they were a bit out of place.
Yeah, definitely, tons of them. I mean, and you know, to piggyback off that a little bit too, the climbing in this game. There's really, without getting into anything, you know, too deep, there's really some stuff that reminds me, like, very reminiscent of Uncharted. I don't want to go into the specifics, but there was a lot of little sections that were very like cinematic. Everything's blowing up and you're trying to escape, and they combine all those VRAF things we talk about that we know and love so much, and the climbing, the swinging around, all that sorts of stuff is just absolutely incredible. The kind of experience that I've always wanted, and they jam pack it in here.
Yeah, climbing's something that's kind of been done to death at this point in VR. I mean, when people hear us praising the climbing in the game, you know, VR veterans are like, whatever. I've been there, done that. Well, you really haven't, because it isn't so much about the climbing mechanic as it is what's going on around you while you're climbing. That's what really makes those sections. And I thought exactly the same thing. Like, this is amazing. This is awesome. They really nailed that action movie vibe that they're going for in those sequences.
Yeah. Tax refund. The Decalogue defines right and wrong game cap. I'm so happy I know how to pronounce that. $2 tip says, is it a weak 1, a strong 2, or a 3? Orbs, orbs, orbs. Let's get there. We'll get there. We'll do a little why we love rating system at the end of this. But we're not quite there yet. But we'll keep that in mind. Tax refund. Yeah, so I kind of want to start picking apart this game, and I think, and this isn't going to go strictly into the negatives already, because obviously there's so much good stuff to talk about with this game, but I do want to start picking apart different elements of this and hearing what you guys have to say about it, because I don't know what you're gonna tell me. What did you think of the story?
The bland action movie story. The voice acting was good and stuff, but really, you know, it's you and the character Rosales, and it's really just to kind of push the story along. I mean, you're this action hero guy that goes up and you're basically just saving the world, but the characters are all forgettable, and characters are all forgettable. It's weak characters, but it has to be there to push the story along.
Wes,
I'm sorry, go ahead.
No. For transparency's sake, you said you're not quite done with the game yet, right?
I have not finished it. I'm about 80% there, but you're right. I have not finished the game.
So far, what do you think of the story?
I think it serves its purpose. I think AJ's correct, and I want to be very clear about something. The voice acting's great. Like, from an audio perspective, everything's wonderful. Whether we're talking about spatial audio, whether we're talking about the soundtrack, which is awesome, and the voice acting, all of that's top notch. But the story itself is a bit cliche, but it serves its purpose. It wasn't bad per se, but that's not really why we're playing. You're not playing this because you want to know what happens next. You're playing this because you want to do what happens next.
The main character's got this deep voice that she's pushing along.
See, and as good, his voice is fine, but like I also think it's very generic, right? I don't, I at the end of the game, I had no compassion for him or the girl on the radio. I was like, it doesn't matter, man. I don't care what happens to these characters whatsoever. I'm like, I've seen the game through. I'm done. I'm good to go. And there was a moment in this game where I think it only happens once, where they stop you in your tracks and you can't progress any further. You're in the locker room and she's on the radio. You're having this conversation, this back and forth. I'm running around the room going, how the fuck do I get out of here? And I'm thinking, and I'm realizing, oh, I have to wait for this conversation to be over. Like it's very brief. It almost never happens any other time. And I'm like, is this about, are we about to have a heartfelt moment here? And they didn't. I was like, and I felt like that was a little bit of a missed opportunity because if they had slowed it down a little bit and given me a little bit more backstory on these characters and who I am and who this girl is and everything that's happening and like maybe give me some backstory a little bit, maybe I could have cared because they were so close. Like they actually made me start paying attention. I was like, ooh, what's going on here? They made me stop running around shooting bad guys. What are they talking about? Let's listen. And nothing happened. And I was like, damn it. And the bad guy burst in and opened the door and I was like, and off we go. You know, and so it was passable. The story was passable, but I think it served a purpose. And that was just to give you an excuse to keep playing.
Do you think that maybe the storyline was a bit of a victim of the pacing of the game? This is a very fast-paced game. And I could totally see it being the case that really there was no time for a relationship to develop between the two characters in the game because you're always pretty much running from start to finish from the time that you put the headset on.
Yeah. There really wasn't enough time for it to develop. There was, I think you're right. I mean, it's you never know what happens behind the scenes, right? Like, was there initially a vision for a bigger, more elaborate story? We have no idea, but I would love to find out those details at some point.
Game certainly would have had to be delayed. It would have had to have been delayed and more time to have that stuff. But yeah, I'm glad you mentioned the soundtrack, Wes, because I loved the soundtrack.
Yeah, it's quite good.
I love the presentation of a lot of the action. You know, this game doesn't really worry about motion sickness. It just went for what's all the best stuff about Blood and Truth. Now let's give it full locomotion and make it 10 times crazier and beautiful.
Man. Yeah. So I don't know. We should probably address that big elephant in the room that everyone's already talking about in chat.
It's too long. The game is too long.
Just drags and drags and drags.
It goes on and on forever. And man, I mean, I like games to be long, but shit, no. Yeah, Brian, this game is super duper ooper short. I mean, by the time it took me to say that, you could have already played through the game twice. It is very short.
So it took me 2.5 hours, and I did everything I possibly could. I looked for every single coin. I don't know if I found them all because trophies are still not live, I think, as far as right now. And so I need to go back in and see if I missed any missed any coins. And I found. I mean, I searched the crap out of all of these places, and I took my time, collected all the ammo, made sure every dude was dead before I even tried to like do what I was supposed to do in each room, and still I think I came in at under 2.5 hours. AJ, I think you said you were closer to 2 hours.
Yeah.
And now
I was looking for coin stuff too.
Okay, so as always, you're better than I am. And the outlier, but I think the outlier here, and I'm so glad you're here to represent a little bit of a different perspective, Wes, is you. Tell us where you're at with this.
So I've got about 3 hours in the game, and I'm not finished. Now, with that said, I experienced a crash about 20 to 30 minutes into the game and had to start over. So we could say effectively I'm about 2.5 hours into the game with 2 chapters yet to go. With that said, I mean, I'm kind of notorious for being meticulous in my play style. It always takes me hours longer than anyone else. So it doesn't surprise me that you guys finished it a lot sooner than I would. This is just kind of how I play. Now, with that said, all of my gameplay came this afternoon after I already knew I was coming on here, so maybe I kind of got a little sloppy. I did die quite a bit in some of these larger, sequences that I feel maybe I would have if I would have taken a more cautious role with it like I normally would. Maybe I would have actually ended up getting through it a little bit quicker. But yeah, even for my standards, I could tell it is going to be a bit short, even if I didn't make it through quite as quickly as you two did. It's an interesting conversation here because typically when you talk about how long a game is, the next thing you look at is the price tag. You're looking at a value proposition between the price tag of the game, which is substantial for a VR game, versus the amount of time played. But there is a precedence here. Typically I'm not in the business of recommending games that are 2 and 3 hours long and cost $30. But Transference, I loved, and it was only a couple hours long, and it was $30 when it launched. So I mean, I don't know if you guys are going to end up recommending this or not, but if you do, it won't be the first time that we've had a game this short that we ended up loving in the end anyway, in spite of it.
It's a good reference point because I've actually been trying to come up with good comparable games that launched at the same price, had short campaigns, just to sort of, because dude, I mean, I don't know if anybody thinks that I have some sort of chart over here where I say, well, 3-hour campaign, great graphics, needed more enemy variety, 7.5 out of 10. Like, there's no mathematical equation. I struggled with this score, right? I ended up at an 8.2 out of 10, and I bounced all over the place, right? Because if this game had managed to keep up its intensity and fun factor for another 2 hours, we'd be in like the high 9 range, right? I'd be talking about, this is one of my favorite games ever made. This is like one of the best VR games out there, and you can't, to me, you can't get partway through this game or halfway through this game and say, this is the best thing I've ever played, and then it ends too quickly and give it a 6, right? I can't do that. It doesn't feel right to me, because like, while it's amazing, and so that's why the mark as low as it did with an 8.2. But there's no scientific backing here. If somebody said, "Oh, this is a 7" to me because of the length only," I'd be like, "Yeah, I'm right there with you, man. I totally understand where you're coming from." Somebody else says it's a 9, and the length is like, it doesn't matter as much because what's there is so intense and so much fun and so polished. I'd be like, "Yeah, I understand that too." So it's a really, really tough game to rate.
I think you did a good job of kind of balancing that out. This is an easier one to say. It's easier to rate this game by buy it now, wait for a sale, or whatever. I think it's easier to describe with that than it is a numbering system. But I think you found a good little balance between there. But for me, this is where the length of the game. The length of the game kind of comes into play here because I'm typically, there's all sorts of different types of gamers. I'm the type of person that loves really long games, even if they're a little padded at sometimes, even if they have like a couple issues here and there. I love hours, like at least especially when it comes to VR, I usually never settle for anything less than 5 hours. Because I feel like you don't get to spend enough time with the game. You don't get to like really go in depth with it. And I think that's a problem with this game overall, is that everything from start to finish. I remember about halfway through this game, or even by like the third level, I was like, this is not only one of the best VR games I've played, but this is like I feel like one of the best games I've ever played in my life because of how exciting it is. But then when it ended, I was singing a much different tune because
he called me up. He was so mad. I felt like I was talking him down from a fucking ledge. Like, you don't even understand how angry he was.
I was really mad because I love depth, and I love depth to gameplay. I love depth to all sorts of things. I love replay value, and this is where the game I think gets hit the most. Is like, I think this game, like, to me, it still is hard for me to say that this is a great or amazing game. I feel like this is an amazing experience to me, and that's just me being thick-headed, and that's just my standards and what my point of view is. But
I don't think that's thick-headed at all. I think a lot of us are in the exact same boat. Like I think we all would have loved for this game to get to go on for hours and hours, and we discovered deeper gameplay mechanics and more weapons and just upgrades and shit. And it's like I think that's what 99% of us would have preferred.
I defended like Moss at launch because I remember a lot of people saying that it was too short. But the thing about Moss is I felt like it had like the gameplay, you got to see it develop some, and I felt like by the end of it there was like a closure to it. This game, I didn't feel so much. Like I felt like, wow, that was a great experience. Okay, now let me go back to playing Arashi, which I can replay 100 times, even with its little issues. It's like I can learn new things, find new ways to experience this. Now, the good news here is that, I have played through Fracked a few times now, and it's fun every single time you play it. But that's not how you're supposed to get value out of your game. Is that it's so short that you have to replay it over and over and over to get the core value out of it. And you had mentioned earlier, Brian, that there was stuff like where it stops you and you start. There was one point in the story, there was like the only story moment in the game where it stops you and it starts talking about a story or something and mentions something. And then you also mentioned in your review that some of the gameplay ends up being just kind of like wave based, them coming in there, and like you start to see some of the shallowness that some of the gameplay has, and it doesn't give you any time to actually see it. That's the problem with short games, is that in this situation particularly, it doesn't let the gameplay develop completely. It kind of does this amazing thing, and then it like sticks to that, and then just does more of it. And that's the problem I have with it.
Well, let me ask you, AJ, would it change your opinion any if, in the context of, the story being too short, the story campaign rather being too short, but what if there was another layer to the gameplay that gave it more replayability? For example, one of my favorite releases of this year is Sniper Elite. And Sniper Elite is great because it's so replayable, because there's a scoring system and there's leaderboards to chase and there's all of these different achievements that you can get outside of the story campaign. Now, obviously, that might not be a perfect fit for this gameplay, but I would say like a speedrunning based scoring system. How fast can you get through the levels as compared to your friends? I think something like that could have worked in the super fast, intense gameplay loop that they've got going on here now. Would something like that or something to that effect, do you think it would have changed your opinion at the end of it all?
Yes, absolutely. I'll keep this one short because I went on a big rant right there. But yeah, overall, yeah, I want this. What would have made me easily not hesitate is I want more like some skiing trials where you get to do, instead of having to replay those things again, there's a billion different combinations I can think of for the skiing things. There's more collectibles, again, to mention Arashi and Sniper Elite VR, they have not just one collectible, but they have Sniper Elite in particular has leaderboards. Then it's got hidden eagles. Then it has hidden artifacts and stuff you can find. Arashi has these trees you can find, has these things you can dig up, has all these different things, anything like that. But for Fracked in particular, I would have just some sort of tailor-made challenge levels that you could tack on and have some fun with. Absolutely. Yes.
Yeah. Or just literally put a timer in the top left-hand corner of the screen and say, go. You have 40 minutes to beat the game, and see the timer counting down. Like, there's all these things that they could do, like all these additional modes they could have added without a whole lot of extra work tacked on. Skiing challenges, as silly as it is to say, ski through rings, fly through rings. Let's do the pilot wings.
Give it to me.
Absolutely. I would play the fuck out of some skiing levels. Give me the same slopes you already gave me, and give me like 10 variations of ring challenges, and suddenly I feel like I've gotten way more money's worth, because now there's something that's replayable here, and I'm or maybe there's online leaderboards, or maybe there's a trophy associated with it or something, and that's enough for me to say, oh man, okay, I played this for another hour because of this particular challenge.
Or destructible climbing challenges, stuff that you're trying to climb through shit that's exploding.
Yeah.
Like there's so many different things you could think of for this. It just didn't have it.
Guys, we got Walid Sahid Faridi. Again, I have to say it slowly so I don't screw it up. The Canadian $5 says, do you guys recommend waiting for a PSVR2 version of this? Also, you pronounce my name perfectly. Keep it up. Keep up the great work. Love you guys. We love you too, Walid. I'm going to answer this before you guys even have a chance. At this point, I wouldn't really wait for PSVR2 versions of anything because I think, as we've talked about, we're going to see games that sort of blow PSVR1 out of the water when PSVR2 rolls around. We're going to see a bunch of PSVR1, they're going to be remade for PSVR2. But I think at that point, a lot of us would be ready to have moved on and be like, okay, let's see what the next generation of like AAA VR stuff brings. So I think some games like this, as great as it is and as much fun as we're having with it, we'll get lost in the mix. Be like, oh yeah, remember that game from like a year and a half ago? And it's like, oh yeah, here it is again. Cool. Does it have new levels? No? All right, well then let's fucking play Resident Evil Village.
Yeah, this game in particular, I wouldn't recommend waiting out for not for PSVR 2. This game does everything with the PSVR 1 hardware perfectly. Mm-hmm. So there's nothing that PSVR 2 can really enhance for this. No.
I'd say
that's
wait for a sale, if anything. If you're concerned about the length, wait for a sale. But I wouldn't say wait for PSVR 2. Sorry, Wes.
No, I was basically going to say exactly what AJ said. This game doesn't really stand to gain anything from the PlayStation VR 2 hardware. Like this game is built around PSVR 1, and outside of a few bells and whistles like facial haptics, I don't think there's anything that's going to be really game changing with regards to this game in the new hardware.
Now, I guess we should wrap this up by answering tax refunds.
Yeah.
The Decalogue defines. So, guys, the rating scale is it a 1, which is you need to go ahead and go buy this game right now, a strong, or a 2, which is wait for a sale, or if you got the extra money, or this is just your kind of experience that you have to have, or is it a 3, which is don't buy this, hold off, just put your PSVR back in the closet, or go get Blair
What's
Witch
it doing in the closet? Stop putting your PSVRs in the closet. There's no way you're ever going to pull it back out if you disconnect it. Stop putting your PSVRs in the closet. No one puts PSVR in the closet.
So what is this one to you guys?
Wes, you're up, man. What do you rate this?
Well, this is difficult for me because on one hand, you have one of the most polished experiences I've ever played on PlayStation VR. On the other hand, you have a fairly high price tag. And when you consider the price tag, you have to consider everything else that's on the store that you can get for $30. And you can get most of the games on the PSN store for $30. And even the ones like Blood and Truth that are $40 often go on sale for $30. Like you won't have to wait for very long.
Now.
Yeah,
they're
super low.
They're 15.
Yeah. So it's difficult to me, and price is a very subjective thing. $30 to me might not be $30 to you. It's a different thing. But for me, I cherish the idea that this is one of only a handful of games that I can play with my PlayStation 5 and see benefit from it. Like I can play my whole PSVR catalog on PS5, but I can pretty much count on one hand the games that I can tell a difference between my Pro and my PS5. So that makes it worth it for me. Now, at the same time, I realize that most people aren't in that boat yet. So for those people, it's probably going to be a 2, but for me, I would say it's a 3.
Wait.
What's that?
Did you say 3?
Yeah, for me, in my personal circumstances, as someone who has $30 in their pocket and a PlayStation 5 that I need games for,
all right,
I'm not.
You got it backwards.
I'm not.
You're giving it a 1 then.
I'm giving it a 1. Well, I'm reading. I thought so, but
don't listen to the chat, man. Don't listen to the chat. Chairface is in the chat. He's like, tonight I'm cleaning out my closet. I found a PSVR. These guys are just here to fuck with us, right?
Okay. I'm reading your little thing here in the Discord, and it says weak one, strong
Oh
two.
no, sorry. That was the comment copy and paste.
Yeah,
Okay, I'm not sorry that I bought it for 30
Yeah.
bucks, but I recognize that a lot of people aren't in my situation, and those people might want to wait for a sale.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For me, it's definitely an extremely big, like extremely strong 2. I received a review copy for this game. Thank you so much, In Dreams. I think they killed it with what it is. But if you're like me and you like really long games, then you have to get this one on sale, because chances are you're going to play it once or twice, a couple times at most, and then you're done with it, ready to move on. And that's a lot of money. Brian told you, I called him. And I was really upset, or he called me. I don't remember, but
you
but
called me.
We talked on the phone. We talked on the phone, and I didn't pay this game, and I was super upset about the length of this game, and I didn't pay. So I only imagine if there's people out there like me that like longer games, most bang for their buck. But again, that being said, I agree with everything Wes said. This game is a must-play, whether you get it now or not. The good news is it's still on sale at this time, for the most part, in the U.S. at least. So there is, 25. I would just get the standard edition.
Yep.
Either get it on the 25 sale price, or wait for a little bit steeper, 15 at the least, and then go there.
Yeah, I've never had a tougher time rating a game ever, because it is 100% one of the most polished, most perfectly playing games I've ever played on PlayStation VR, and then it ends. And if it was even an hour and a half, 2 hours longer, we'd be talking about like how this is going to fit into the top 10 of our next top 25 list. And now we're talking about, or I'm personally thinking, how this is going to be somewhere in the 20 to 25 range. However, I still think it might find a spot there on the top 25 list. So I think this is one of the best things you'll ever play on PlayStation VR. It just doesn't last long enough. And so that's really, really hard to, to basically balance those two sides of the coin. It's a super strong 2, only because like it's $30, and so if $30 isn't that big of a deal to you, then like this is something you're definitely going to want to play, and if it is that big of a deal to you, then definitely wait for a sale, but absolutely pick it up the second it's affordable to you. It's unbelievable what they've done here, or just play the demo like 3 more times, and you pretty much get the idea.
You got to experience the skiing and the shooting, though. Go ahead. Sorry.
I'm sorry. Let me ask you this, Brian. Again, to AJ's point, we're sitting here, we're saying wait for a sale. It is on sale. So let's take the $30 price tag out of the equation for a moment, and let's talk about it in the context of what you can buy it for actually right now.
25.
Do you recommend it? Do you recommend
25.
it at its current price, which is what, like $26, $27, something like that?
It's better.
See, that's
it
the
makes
problem.
It feel a little bit better.
Because if it was $20, I'd be saying up and down. I'd be like, oh man, we've definitely paid $20 for like way less polish, way less content. But as soon as you get to that $30 mark, it starts to get a little bit iffy. And so somewhere in the middle, it's less iffy, So I'm not gonna quibble over a few dollars here. I'm still in the same boat with the sale, because I think for most people who have an issue with the length and the price, it's going to have to get under $20 for them to be happy. So I think that's where a lot of people will find themselves. But again, it's just so polished. It's so polished that I'm sort of not happy. I'm torn, man. I'm torn, right? I
don't do $10 an hour for any game. I don't usually accept that. So
no, it does seem unacceptable until you go, oh man, this is like, it's just so good though, and like I don't know, I kind of wish I didn't.
I've calmed down. I was definitely going to go a lot harsher with what I had to say about the length and stuff, and I definitely have calmed down by now. And like I said, the good news is you can replay it, and it's still fun, and it hopefully is worth it. But yeah,
I need perspective is what I need. I need time, right? So I got my review. I stayed up all night getting that review done, which is why I'm fucking dead tired right now. And then I'm gonna have to like come back and revisit this subject in a few days, maybe a week or so, maybe when the top 25 debate happens in like a week and a half, 2 weeks. and once I've had a little time and a little bit of perspective, I think I'm going to be able to come down on this and say, it's absolutely worth it for a certain price or whatever. But I'm not there yet. It's too new. The recency bias is definitely clouding my perspective a little bit.
Yeah.
Okay, guys, super duper long show today, right? Very happy that you guys are here. But we can't finish a show without a little game of PSVR 20 questions. Wes, are you familiar with how this game is played?
I am familiar with it. I'm probably not going to be on Dave's level, though, as a fill-in here. But, yes, I know what we're doing.
Okay. Well, I am taking the role of the host today, and I have got a PlayStation VR game in mind. And
Okay.
Is everything okay over there?
Yeah, I asked you. Oh, you said you'll host one. Okay,
Yeah, I got it.
I missed it.
It's okay. It's quite all right. I've got a game picked out. I'm ready to go. I'm gonna need you, Wes, and you, AJ, and everybody in the chat to help out. Get 20 yes or no questions to figure out the game that I'm thinking of, the PlayStation VR game I'm thinking of. I'm gonna put the 6-minute timer up from Timertopia, and so good luck, guys. Are you ready?
I like Emily Baxter's first question. Is it a PSVR game?
This is Emily's first time here. Okay.
All right. So, AJ, you go with the standard RSTLNE questions. You know what questions to ask.
That was a Wheel of Fortune reference. Nice.
It is.
All right, man. Yeah, well, just ask anything that tries to narrow it down. We want to try to get the category and the genre a little bit first. Okay,
You've
Brian,
already 30 seconds already gone off the clock.
Oh, what the hell, man? I didn't say I was ready.
Oh, wait, you didn't
Okay,
say you're ready.
that's
Hold on. Now I need to reset it. Here, let's get dash world
Yeah,
back up.
I never said I was ready.
No, I thought it was hilarious. You guys talking away and stuff. Me cheated. I want you to win. Unlike you guys, I'm on your side. Okay, ready, go.
Is it a horror game?
Yes. Look at that.
Bam.
Yeah,
Does it support move controllers?
it does support the move controllers.
Moves. Does it support the DualShock as well?
It does support the DualShock as well.
Well, is it is there a movie tie-in to it?
There's not a movie tie-in. Sorry, John.
Is it let's see. What was I gonna say? Is it trippy at all?
Yeah, it's trippy.
You gotta be quick. Just spit it out.
What was it released within the last 3 years?
It was not released in the last 3 years.
Is it blurry?
I don't think this is blurry. No, this game is not blurry. That's 7.
Okay.
Is it longer than 3 hours? On average.
I like it.
To roll credits, it is not longer than 3 hours.
It's not longer than 3 hours for this, and it's kind of it's an earlier one. Let's see. I think Transference came out within the last couple of years.
Serial killers is fully a dear father. Wait. One day, and I guarantee. You know what? I'm going to go to bet. I'm going to bet anybody who wants to bet a pizza that we'll get Foley this Halloween. It's not happening. I just really want it to happen.
Yeah. Was this so this game came out within like the first year, I'm guessing then?
First two.
Ooh, Old Darth. I like where you're thinking here. Wait, no, but it's not based on a movie. It's not based on a movie, right? It uses move support. What's the time at, Brian?
3:35. You got more than half your time left.
Is it on that's okay. We got some good ones in here from Flame Hat. And is it on a roller coaster?
It's not on a roller coaster.
Okay.
That eliminates
Is
so
it
many
a-
games.
Is it an escape the room?
It is not an escape room game. That's 10.
Don't Knock Twice is based on a movie.
That's true.
What's the time, Brian?
3:07. You got half your time
Okay,
left
we're
and
playing
half your
time.
questions left.
Okay, good. Yeah, well, I'm trying to think of what came out in the first year. That's the hard part. first year-ish. I want to say. Ooh. Are you blind in this game?
You are not blind in this game.
Okay, good one, Jay.
Oh.
Let's see here. Let me look through. If you got one, go ahead and name it.
Can you attack? Can you be offensive in the game?
You cannot be offensive in this game.
Is it a haunted house game? Is it like a haunted house? Walking sim.
Yeah, I would say that wouldn't be far from one of the terms we'd use.
Can you die?
I don't know. I'm gonna give you a freebie and say I don't think so.
I think. Are there multiple paths in this game?
There are multiple paths in this game.
I think he's got. I think who was it? Who was it that said this?
Yeah, I didn't see it.
I saw somebody say it, and I think it did. Okay. Let's see here. Does this game begin? Minute and a half. Does this game begin? Was this game supposed to have DLC that we haven't seen yet?
Not to my knowledge, no.
Oh, really?
Does this developer have any other horror games on PlayStation VR?
Yes. That's 16. You got a minute and 12 seconds left.
16. Ooh. Wait, no, there's no offensive thing though. It can't be a shooter.
Does this game feature a branching narrative?
I feel like I
already said there's.
I feel like I already answered that, and that was a yes. So
Okay.
we'll give you a freebie and say yes again.
Sorry. I
Okay,
missed
Hidden
that one.
Light doesn't support moves, so it can't be that.
42 seconds.
I want to say affected the manner so bad. I just want to make sure we got everything else out. Is it made by Supermassive Games?
It is made by Supermassive Games.
Boom. Is it The Inpatient?
It is The Impatient with 24 seconds and 2 questions left. Good job, you guys.
Thank you, guys.
Good job.
Thank you, chat.
We did it.
Affected is actually what got me there. Somebody kept saying affected the manner over and over.
Did somebody get it before Jay Meow? Because he was the first person I saw say impatient, and that was just seconds ago.
I saw Justin Cassidy said it. That's where I was going
cool.
as well. My next question was going to be, did you think it was horribly overpriced at launch?
That's a great question. That's how you narrow this down, by thinking outside the box, Wes.
Yeah, I felt like this game has a lot in common with the topic of the day, which was Fracked, like overpriced and over before you knew it. But unlike Fracked, you play this game like it has 6 different endings, and so there's a lot more to see every time you replay it. An underrated game. I think a lot of Impatience sucks, but I think a lot of it's really good too. Answering stupid questions is just so mind-numbing when you're playing it over and over and over. You're like, what did I answer last time? None of this is relevant. Who cares?
But the dream sequences or nightmare sequences are awesome in that game.
100% agree. Absolutely. That was another tough one to rate because I did like a lot of it, and I didn't like a lot of the other parts. So, all right, you guys, listen, we got to get out of here. This has been a super long show, but Wes, I can't thank you enough for filling in for Dave today. This has been a really, really fun time. Again, if anybody doesn't watch Virtual Strangers, make sure you go check out Wes and Roots over there doing their thing. Again, it's really one of the few VR YouTube channels that I actually watch. So if you want to know what I'm watching in my spare time, go check out their channel. You can also go check out AJ's channel too if you feel the need. He live streamed Fracked today on PSVR Underground. Do that thing. Also, guys, make sure you check us out on Instagram. Miles Dyer is taking care of that account over there, making sure that we're all up and running. Also, Jay Meows getting us all up and running on a website, and this is now on Spotify, Apple Podcast, and a bunch of other streaming services. So make sure you send Jay a little bit of love for all the hard work he's doing. ScifiGamecatHenry, who puts timestamps. Man, it's just religiously. He's doing his own thing on his channel. I watched his call-in show. Kicking ass over there. Guys, a lot of cool game cats doing a lot of great things. And a shout out, of course, to all of our moderators who are doing God's work, making sure that the chat stays civil and that Discord is run smoothly. go join us over on Discord. The link's in the description below.
This ending sequence became a lot longer than it used to be.
Yeah, for sure, man. For sure. I need to just like plaster it up on the screen or something. Or I need to yell out all these people after we cue the cat, right?
Yes.
It takes 17 minutes to end the show. But anyway, thank you again, Wes. We'll definitely stay in touch, and hopefully we'll be able to get you on the show real soon. And if your co-host ever calls out, well, then you know where to find me.
Absolutely. Sounds like a plan. Thanks for having me. It was a blast.
Wes, should we cue the cat?
Cue the cat, Brian, because I want to say good night. Happy Monday. Hopefully you made it suck a little bit less to Justin Cassidy. Thank you so much for helping with that. Old Darth, stellar show. You're stellar. You're stellar. Stellar. Nihilus Riley, Kate Feline. Thank you for virtual Slayer Cats. Yes. Wes is another metalhead. Support your PSVR metalheads. Endeavor One in the chat tonight. You may want to rewind this episode. We had some things to say about Arashi, Castles of Sin. GC13, the Night Pepsi Cat. Rewind this episode because we also talked about Saints and Sinners. Emily Baxter, the hashtag Game Kitten. Welcome to your first GAMESCAST. Good to see you. We didn't talk about any cartoony games, so you should be very pleased. Johnny No Pockets, aka the Who Dat Game Cat. Thank you so much. Yes, I agree. Wes did a fantastic job. Thank you. Flame Hat, Game Cat, take care of yourself as well. Tax refund, the Decalogue defines right and wrong. Game Cat, that never gets easier to say his name. Wolveraza, what's up, Dan Kiefer, Eastville, the Attack Cat. Hey man, you gotta tell me if you like 1976 or not after you purchased it on my recommendation. It means a lot. Thank you. Mark Pringles Leaf, Bob Zarkoff, the Underground Dave Station, Game Cat, elitist of the elite name squads in the house. Johnny Rypop, the Straight Cat. Good to see you, my friend. Traveling Man 3775 says Virtual Stranger. Yes, it is he. Space Dennison, you will always be Void Cat to me. VR Demon, thank you so much for tuning in. Decepticon, GG to you. Tom, let me bang on those drums. Twitcher, the single player Game Cat. I don't know what I'm saying anymore. Serial Killer, the Game Cat. I started eating Life cereal, guys. Just because of this whole show, I started eating Life cereal.
Isn't it delicious? It's delicious.
Thank you so much. It's pretty good. It's all right. I'm still not like way back into cereal yet, but it's okay. You know, it's not as good as my banana chocolate muffins or whatever I have. Banana chocolate chunk muffins are still the number one breakfast. Donatello, the Scientist Game Cat, thank you so much, dude. Rody, good to see you. I hope the tour's going well. Brian Piccolo, all of you. Oh, Brian Piccolo said inpatient. Very nice. So did Virtual Slayer Cat.
Space Dennison. What's up? Just said affected ? So he's a little behind the rest of us.
He'll get there.
All right, you guys. Thank you so much. You all have a great night. We love you.